history unkind. 10-win seasons, longest streaks without a Super Bowl appearance. McDermott and Josh Allen now at 6. Tony Dungy and Peyton Manning won the Super Bowl in their 5th year together. But we're in unprecedented almost but not quite territory right now.
Also the first team ever to make the divisional round 5 years in a row and never make the Super Bowl.
Eek.
Wow. Yeah.
Okay, so do you trust McDermott as much as Josh does?
No. He's a very good coach. I will not say otherwise. The Bills hadn't made the playoffs in 17 years. And he gets there and they make it in their first year. So he's a good coach, very good defensive mind. But he will never outcoach Andy Reid. And that's who they have to get past. Look, I feel the same way about John Harbaugh. Very good coach, won't outcoach Andy Reid. And that is their problem. And so he reminds me a lot of, he's a different style coach, but Mike D'Antoni, who was a great offensive mind. But come playoff time, he always got outcoached by Greg Popovich. Could never get over the hump even to the NBA Finals after these great regular seasons. And one of D'Antoni's problems was lack of attention to detail. And McDermott's different in that regard, but I do think they have fallen short because of the little things. Something as small 3 years ago, or 4 years ago? 3 years ago, as not squib kicking when there's 13 seconds left on the kickoff. That would have taken, 4 to 5 seconds off the clock. Now Mahomes has 8 seconds to get in field goal range rather than 13.
And not to relitigate that, don't you think part of that was that he was worried the kicker would next year to go out of bounds? And then all of a sudden they have it on the 40 instead of the 20. Like you really kill him for that in a way that I think
because I think that takes off a lot of time.
Well, yeah, if it's executed properly, they win the game.
How about practicing it?
Sure.
And executing it.
Sure.
And then just this week, how many? 5 tush pushes?
Well,
5 of them. Not being ready for a Spagnuolo blitz on that last play. I mean, not ready. And you can blame Josh, he didn't read it, pre-snap and on, but you weren't even ready. These little things where the Chiefs are always ready and you're not. So those are the little things that I think are haunting him. And I would give him next year for sure. I don't want to fire him. I talked about that years ago. Mm-hmm. I might have got rid of him. I'm not ready to do that. But if they can't get it done next year, it might just be time for a new voice.
Yeah, no. I don't trust him as much as Josh because I don't have that relationship, but I trust him. Like, he's a really good coach. Like, who are you getting to replace him if you decide to move on from him? Like, a lot of us, we look at the game, and I'm not saying he doesn't own part of the blame. He's not somebody that has a share in the blame because he does. But when I look at Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, as great of a coach as Andy Reid is, Patrick Mahomes has to make plays. He has to elevate his game, and he has to become what he is and what we're seeing. Josh Allen just hasn't done that. Like, as great as he is as a player, and I talk about him all the time. In that last drive, I'm not putting that on Sean McDermott.
Right. The 13-second game, he elevated it. Yeah. But the 3 playoff losses since then, he's
had the ball. But they weren't ready.
He's had the ball in his hand. You talk about being ready for the blitz, and I totally understand that. That's on Josh. The play, when you look at it, he had an outlet. It was built in. And I use the word panic, and maybe he didn't panic, but he didn't read it out. You're coming off a 2-minute warning. Like, you have all this time as a quarterback. You can use your cadence. You know, too, what this defensive coordinator likes to do. We can't always say, okay, wow, the coach got to put him in a better situation. As players, we've understood sometimes you got to overcome coaching. You just do.
Well, and listen, here's the thing. Sean McDermott might be anywhere from a good to very good to great coach, or maybe below average, somewhere, whatever people think of him. He's not Andy Reid, and he has no chance of being Andy Reid. Right? Andy Reid is here. That's not available to them. And by the way, they fire him. It is overwhelmingly likely whoever they hire is not going to be Andy Reid either.
Exactly.
Andy Reid's going to be. So I'm with Greg. I felt in their last 2 playoff losses, the coach was fine to good, and the quarterback was fine to good. But the quarterback is the reason this team's supposed to get over the hump. So I am not killing Josh Allen. I have not. I think people have heard what I have said. But the answer for Buffalo is for their superstar to be a superstar in those moments.
Yep.
That's what it is. And we have this playoff record on there, and I looked at it, and I'm like, okay, McDermott 0-4 against Reed, 7-2 against everyone else. There's another way to look at it. In these playoffs, Josh Allen is 0-4 against Patrick, 0-1 against Joe, and 0-1 against young, still good Deshaun Watson. The 7 wins have come against old Phillip Rivers with the Colts, Mac Jones, Skylar Thompson, Bo Nix, Mason Rudolph, and 2 against Lamar. Now, the Lamar thing is kind of a whole different bucket of, you know what I mean? Is that beating a great quarterback in the playoffs? Is that beating whatever it is? So I have not killed and I will not kill Josh Allen because I thought he was fine in that football game. But Sean McDermott could have done every single thing the exact same way. And going into that game, if they would have been told 3.5 minutes left, down 3, your ball, they'd have said, honestly, best we could have possibly hoped for. That's better than 3.5 minutes left, up 6, their ball. If you would ask the Bills before that football game, would you rather be up 3 or down 3, but the ball switches hands? They'd be like, oh, we'll take trailing, but our superstar has it. That's what they got. Okay. And
I get all that, and I agree. I'm not trying to take it off Josh either. But to beat the Chiefs, you have to be buttoned up on everything. There is no room for error. And little things like what I'm talking about, 5 tush pushes when you only get 2 of them. You got a running back in the backfield who averaged almost 7 yards a carry, and you wouldn't use him on those. He was out of the game in key times. I'm just saying those little things against the Chiefs add up to an L.
Certainly if he went 0-20 against the Chiefs for his entire career and McDermott was there, we would look back and say, that was probably too much. Probably should have pulled the plug at some point. Right now you're saying 6 years of not going to the Super Bowl is not enough. Where is your magic number, Greg?
So, I mean, I don't know where that magic number is because I look at it differently. Like, you look at the other 2 coaches that are 8 years in, McVay and Kyle Shanahan, like, they're sitting in better situations because one of them has a Super Bowl and 2 NFC Championship wins, and the other one has the 2 NFC Championship wins and 2 Super Bowl appearances. But yet, McDermott, he has to go through Andy Reid. They don't.
Right, and the reason, if the Bills were in the NFC and the Niners were in the AFC,
we wouldn't be
would
having
we
this
just
discussion.
be saying you know what I mean? Like, would the Bills just be a team that goes? I guess they've been this team already, but they go to Super Bowls and lose. Like that.
But you also can see the impact of Kyle Shanahan and Sean McVay on the play calling, the quarterbacks, and things like that.
I feel like Sean McDermott's impact on this team that everyone this year said
we gave
lost
up
all
on
the talent on defense, and he's a defensive-minded
He's a great defensive coach.
Can I just, Bill Barnwell, the GM of my fake team that I'm going to own one day, he said he had one idea for the Bills that he said was not a real idea and do not aggregate it, but it's a brilliant idea, and it's honestly the only thing they could do coaching-wise that would truly change the facts on the ground if they play the Chiefs again is if they were to fire Sean McDermott just so they can hire Steve Spagnuolo. Just to kneecap the Chiefs. Not even because you think he's better, but because you are taking him from the Chiefs and you are getting all of that institutional knowledge. That now, Bill was not serious about that. If you are really looking at this is the only team we have to get through and we need to weaken them, that's like a real thought that I can't believe I just said out loud because I really would hate for them to do it. But by Bill, it's not an insane idea.
Brand new office, only have the treasure chest on there. Russ and Pete Carroll, 10 years together with the Seahawks. Very, very good. Brew, do you want to see this happen?
Yes, it'd be a fun story. It'd be a nice, they both get back together. Even if they draft a quarterback, Russ could be his mentor. Maybe the quarterback sits for a year behind Russ, whatever it might be. But in terms of like this having any significance to the league next year, like it'll be a story, we'll be into it. But no, I don't think they'd be a factor in the AFC at all. In fact, if I'm Russ, I would, and I don't know that the Steelers want him back, but if I'm Russ, I'd rather be with the Steelers because he could maybe similar type of thing, get to the playoffs again, have a decent year. I don't think their Raiders are making the playoffs with Russell Wilson next year, but yeah, sure, it'd be a fun story.
No, not at all. I don't want to see it happen, and I honestly felt like Pete Carroll just didn't want to say no. Like, you just don't say no in that situation.
Oh, you think that was a no?
That's pretty much a no. I mean, when you think about number one, a head coach coming in like Pete Carroll, you're not coming in understanding, okay, we're not going to be able to compete against the Denver Broncos or anyone else, obviously the Chiefs. Chargers and the Chiefs. You got a guy who was in this division with the Denver Broncos. It didn't work out. You bring him back to the Raiders. Now he would be the worst quarterback right out the gate.
But aren't they going to have the worst quarterback in this division no matter what?
I mean,
year?
Yeah.
I mean, so
why does it give? It probably gives you the best chance.
No.
To win.
So here's why. This is gonna. Well, go ahead.
No, I just don't. I'm not willing to say that Cam Ward or if they draft a quarterback. We just saw Jaden Daniels be one game away from the Super Bowl with a brand new coach.
No,
they got $100 million in cap space. We've seen these like.
So you don't want him, Russ? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm just not willing to write off the Raiders 100% either way. We've seen like someone's got to be the surprise team next year, like the Commanders were, and with a high draft pick that you can need a quarterback and a ton of cap space and a seasoned coach that you believe in is a recipe for success.
I actually agree with all that. The point I'm making is whether they got Cam Ward or Shedeur or Russ or Sam Darnold or any of the ways they could get a quarterback, going into the year, we would say for the 2025 season, they have the worst quarterback situation in the division no matter what. I think you're misreading what I mean by that.
It feels like you're a huge Bo Nix fan all of a sudden.
No, gosh darn it. And
I'm just saying, Sam Darnold's out here crushing. I'm not willing to say Sam Darnold. Bo Nix is better than Sam Darnold.
I think that, and I'm not a Bo Nix guy, and I'll finish my thought in a second. I think that if the argument against Russ is he would be the worst quarterback in that division, I don't think that's a good argument against him because going into the year, no matter who their quarterback is, he will probably be ranked last in that division. Mahomes will be first, Herbert will be second, the whole world but me likes Bo Nix, so even if you like a rookie, he's still a rookie. If Darnold,
some people might put Darnold
and Darnold I just made up. Like Darnold's not, there's no connection Darnold to the Raiders, whatever it is. Russ would be the case. The reason I think this would be smart is because there is a real value to a team trying to build a culture and teach professionalism. And the Raiders have had none of it for years. And I think Russell Wilson has been, and I hate to use this term because it seems so mean, but humbled professionally in a way where he's not going to have kind of the baggage that was associated with him in Denver. And I do think that as long as he's not blocking a young quarterback from playing, but given where the Raiders are drafting, I don't think Cam is a realistic possibility. Maybe
if you get a Jalen Milroe, you want him.
That's exactly my point. Like anyone else you draft, you probably want to sit for a year anyway. I don't think it's a bad idea. And I also don't think the standard should be, well, if they can't win the Super Bowl, why do anything? Yeah, the 25 teams can't win the Super Bowl. They're still trying to build something. So that's why you misinterpreted where I was going.
The point of me saying he would be the worst quarterback is not just the basis and the foundation. It's just me saying if you're going to start with them being the worst quarterback, I'm not going to bring a guy who has the opportunity to, even though being humbled, now you go back to something that's comfortable and familiar. The first thing that comes back is what once was. And if I'm trying to recreate that, the culture setting and being a great veteran, all those things may be on board. But what also can possibly creep in there is him coming back to what's familiar and believing I can be that guy that I was when I was with him. And that's just not what they need.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.